Today's webinar is called Integrate with ComputerEase to Accelerate Performance, and wanted to show some of the AboutTime product and how we work with ComputerEase, one of our partners, very closely to integrate with their system to bring you the maximum potential and benefit out of that system by feeding it accurate data in a timely manner and also getting data out. So we'll go through all that today. We have about 30 minutes total to do this, so I'm going to be on fast forward mode. We will be recording this as well, so that'll be available afterwards. If anyone wants a copy of it, just let us know. So I'm going to go ahead and get started right now. All right, so AboutTime was founded by two software engineers and two contractors who were looking to fix problems first in those two contractors' business. And the reason I bring that up and think it's relevant is because the two contractors have really fought over the years to keep this as simple as possible for the person out in the field. Because you could have two workers standing right next to each other, the same age, same kind of background. One's on his iPhone texting his girlfriend all day. The guy next to him has never even turned on an iPhone, nor would know how to, or maybe not even want to. So it's got to be easy enough for anyone to go ahead and pick up and be able to do. So we've kept it really simple. That the contractors have fought over the years to keep it as easy to use as possible, and I think you'll see that throughout this webinar here. But then having a powerful back end to integrate with ComputerEase, to also, within our system, before data even goes over to ComputerEase to hit GL and job cost, we can schedule reports to run automatically that will just be distributed to the people you want whenever you want. Also different alerts and notifications within the system to let you know when employees have hit overtime, or if budgets are within a predetermined percentage, you want the project manager to know, hey, this cost code's at 80% of budget. You better start keeping an eye on this so we can make sure this doesn't become a compounded problem that is a pillar of smoke in a rearview mirror that you can't do anything about. And there's a number of other alerts and notifications that I'm going to bring up in a couple minutes here. But a very, very simple to use interface for your field personnel, but a really powerful back end. And wanted to just mention we've been fortunate enough over the years to work very closely with ComputerEase and Mr. John Meibers, their president. If you go on AboutTime's LinkedIn group page, he's a member. We're all very good friends and have a close working relationship. But we do have what's called a live integration, which is quite different from other products out there, since we've had the benefit of working directly with them on our program and our integration. So with that integration, we can actually schedule a task to run. So when you set up a new job or make an employee inactive, or if you're using equipment through ComputerEase, you've added a new asset, we can go ahead and schedule a task that will run in the background. Maybe every 15 minutes, it's looking at the tables in ComputerEase, looking for something new, or maybe once a day or once an hour or whatever you wish. But we can schedule that task to run, and it will link up with ComputerEase and search the tables and look for anything new. Again, if you made an employee inactive, they become inactive in AboutTime. That feeds out to the devices in the field and takes that person off the device so no one can accidentally report time for them. You added a new project, it comes into the system and feeds out to the field. You made a job inactive, same thing, becomes inactive in the AboutTime system and feeds out to the field and pulls that job off the device. But we will also, which is quite unique, okay, say you set up a project and it has job-specific cost codes that are unique to that project. Maybe there's also budgets for how many hours it should take to complete each cost code, and then maybe even production units. How many linear feet or cubic yards or units are we installing? All that can be recognized and restricted and pulled into our system so that out in the field, someone sees a project and goes to clock into it. The only cost codes they'll see is what's relevant to that particular project. So really nice, clean, smooth live integration with ComputerEase. And to kind of show you how the data moves around, again, we'll schedule that task to go ahead and pull the codes into what we call our control center, which is just the back-end software, kind of the brains of the system, the hub between ComputerEase and these devices out here in the field. So again, we'll link up as a scheduled task to pull those jobs, employees, and so on into the control center. Normally on our customer server, it's an installed application, powerful MS SQL backend, but a very scalable, but database, but not a big resource hog. So most customers put it on the same server as ComputerEase. But anyway, when data does come into the control center, which again is our backend software and kind of the hub between ComputerEase and the devices in the field. But when those jobs do come in, we can restrict that data down. So if you only want this foreman out here to see, particular jobs, that's all he'll see. He won't see anything else. We can also restrict down, if you wish, what crew members are seeing on different devices or for different jobs. There's a lot of ways we can restrict data down and give people as little to look at in the field as possible so that, they're not overwhelmed, basically. But anyway, we can also break our system into different divisions and departments and companies. So if you have different departments, divisions, and companies, or whatever you might call them in your world, we can segregate those, again, to keep data separate and give people in the field as little to look at as possible. Now, the only time the devices in the field need a connection is when they're syncing. And it's a bidirectional sync, so it's pushing one button from the device in the field, and that is the only time they need an internet connection. The rest of the time, these devices can be in complete disconnect mode. A foreman could have his iPad or a technician and be, the basement of a high-rise building surrounded by concrete where there's no connectivity, still operate the system in complete real time, filling out forms, labor, whatever they need to do. They'll be able to go ahead and do that with or without a connection. So then when they maybe come up to see the light of day, or they've left that cornfield in Nebraska where they were working and now they're in the town and they can go ahead and sync up, they hit one button, it creates a bidirectional sync. It'll push the day's data into the office as well as kick out any changes. There's also, I mentioned, some alerts and notifications we can put into place if you want to know an employee hit overtime. If budgets are within a predetermined percentage, or if weather is impacting the job site in a negative way, or if a field note came in, or a job site photo, or if employees clocked in away from the job site. Our GPS feature that I'll mention in a couple minutes here, or talk about, will let you know that they were away from the job site and exactly where they were. So we have up to 4 approval stages, so an employee could review and approve their time before this goes into ComputerEase. They can do that from the device in the field, or through a web portal where they log in and go ahead and review and approve their time. Then also maybe a foreman would be the next approval stage, hypothetically. And then maybe after they sync the data, a project manager or superintendent reviews and approves the data. Then maybe finally, excuse me, a payroll admin to give it that last look over before go ahead and submitting that to ComputerEase. So once you're ready, we create a file, and we can also configure your overtime rules, and then we upload that data into ComputerEase completely coded and ready to go. I mentioned the budgeting feature in AboutTime, and just wanted to clarify that that is for hours that are needed to complete each cost code or a complete project, and then also units. The dollars, that's one of the powerful things about ComputerEase is they have a great job cost system there. So we just feed the hours over with the overtime already broken down, so that impacts GL and job cost right away as soon as you upload that information. And that's where you see your dollars and how profitable you are. And but this will give project managers, superintendents, decision makers instant feedback as to how they're doing. What's the percentage of completion? What's remaining? What are we completing per hour? What's the overall budget? And what's the overall risk here? You can get that data every single day, and we can schedule reports that will automatically generate, insert into a PDF format, and email to whoever you want it to go to. So, and then also the alerts to let project managers know when budgets are approaching completion or going over. So it just helps to give you, pulling all these different things together, and you're going to see we have forms that you can, custom forms that we can build in the system, the labor against the job cost, also equipment tracking, different things like that, just pulling all these things together in real time and giving you a windshield rather than a rear view mirror. Again, it's a pillar of smoke that you can't do anything about in that rear view mirror. So just a lot of power, a lot of visibility in the system. And then there's also accountability. We have a number of different things we can do to help keep workers or crew leaders accountable and make sure you're actually paying them accurately for the time that they worked. So a potential workflow could be an employee enters a unique PIN code that's unique to them. That will immediately have the screen rotate so they can tap the in button or the out button. You can see we use nice big buttons, and I do this at seminars with my iPad. I'll actually clock in with my elbow. The buttons are big enough that a small elephant could actually clock in as well. So so guys who have big sausage, hot dog fingers can still, manage the system. We use nice big buttons. But when they go to clock in or clock out, their picture is taken, and then they have their picture back on file in the office where that can be, compared to. It's also, finding out where they are, or recognizing where they are. You can, as a workflow, have an option to have them select the cost code, or wait till the end of the day and I'll allocate that time to different cost codes. A foreman could do it, or whoever you give that that functionality to. It could also be done in the office once the data has been synced. But there's also a report that can be, as I mentioned, the reports can be scheduled, so that can run, so you can kind of spot check and make sure people are who they are, and that they're really them. But then also that you have the confirmation when you're reviewing and approving the time, where you can see the original picture, as well as what was taken at that time that they clocked in or out. And of course, we're also grabbing their GPS coordinates. So when that transaction does occur, it's going to go ahead and grab a fix on their coordinates. And each job that we pull in from ComputerEase will get a radius applied around it. You can make bigger or tighter depending on the size of the job, but we do set a default, so there's not a lot of administrative oversight. But with the GPS feature, there's no recurring monthly fees, because it's just tapping into the internal GPS on the an iPad, an iPhone, an iPad mini, an Android tablet, an Android phone, whatever that device might be. And then it also will alert you when those things happen, so that you're not staring at a screen waiting for problems to happen. We want to give you as many tools as possible to manage more by exception. So it'll let you know when those discrepancies do occur. And then, as I mentioned before, AboutTime works in disconnect mode. So does the GPS, because it's actually going to the satellite and not using the cellular triangulation, and will connect to maps, so you can actually go right down to the street level and see where people were, when those different discrepancies did occur. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually pull up my iPad and show a little software here. We don't have a lot of time today, so it's going to be pretty brief. And again, I invite anyone who wants to go ahead and see this in action to go ahead and contact us, and we'll go ahead and show it to you. So I showed, an individual worker clocking in. I have a very simple workflow here. This guy, Daniel, the time and date are running, in the background. The job's already been set ahead of time for him, maybe by the foreman, so it'll default to remember whatever job. He can just tap the in button and go to work. So I really slowed that down. It takes about 3 seconds. We've grabbed his picture. We've grabbed a fix on his coordinates. And if there's a connection, we can have a feature where that just feeds right into the office, so you have instant visibility as to where your people are. But again, if there's no connection, it will store on the device until they go ahead and sync up. But I could have a different workflow here. I've got this other person, Sarah, who can fill out a form. Maybe she's a technician who has work orders or service tickets that she needs to fill out against whatever job she's working on. So when Sarah goes to clock in, I have, as part of her workflow, prompted her to change her job. Maybe she's delivering materials all day to different job sites, or whatever that workflow might be. So if she says yes, she'll see a list of different jobs that might be assigned to her, or maybe it's everything active in ComputerEase. Whatever that might be, we can determine what she can see. So you can see, I'll slow this down here because I didn't on the last one. Sarah now can accept this transaction and say, yeah, that's me. I'm on that job. I'm good to go. And say accept. If she hits cancel, it'll allow her to reselect her job. She could also add a ticket number to this, or a work note as well, if there's something relevant to this particular span of time. I'll do one more workflow and then we'll move on. This guy, Larry here, he can change the job ahead of time. So I'm going to say, yeah, we're going to go on the LAX Radisson parking structure job, and I'm going to clock in to that job, and I'm going to do excavation labor. I'm an actual authorized equipment operator, so I'm going to jump onto this grader here and get my rear end to work. So now you can see within 5 seconds or less, we have the date, the time, the employee, the job, the task, the asset, and all that is going to be recording time until he actually clocks into a different cost code or a piece of equipment, or clocks out for lunch or at the end of the day. We can auto-generate a lunch also. So everything's menu-driven, very simple. If Larry there needed to change his piece of equipment he's on, or whatever cost code he was on, maybe now he's going to backfill. He doesn't have to clock out of that last cost code. He just chooses in again. He can choose a new piece of equipment, and off he goes to work. So again, keeping it menu-driven and very simple. Now finally, maybe it's the end of the day and Larry's got to clock out. All he does is choose the red button instead of the green button. And then, as part of compliance, to help you minimize your risk, we can ask them a feedback question, or no questions, or a series of questions. They can have a numeric value for the answer or a yes or no value. It can be in Spanish, English, whatever you want to write that in. It's up to you, the wording. But you can have them certify they were given their meal periods and breaks on that work. They have them agree that they weren't hurt on the job site, whatever sort of stipulations you want them to agree to. So that's it. Straightforward, very simple. We'll quickly now, because the clock is ticking here, we'll look at the foreman. I just put in his 4-digit PIN code. At the top, you see he can clock in or out. So we could have a crew, actually, if you authorize him to do so, where he can go ahead and just manage them all together without clocking people in individually. So there's a lot of options, a lot of different workflows we can build into this system. We could even set up groups of employees so that if say you're a concrete contractor and you have a pouring crew and a forming crew, and they're all being managed by the same foreman, and he wants to keep things simple for him, he can manage them separately in groups of people or crews. But you can see we'll use defaults to remember the last employee selected, so they're at the top, checked off, ready to go. So I can just tap the in button, and I can clock them into a cost code, or I can just simply clock them in, and then at any time throughout the day, go back and add their cost codes, or I can wait till the end of the day when everyone's clocked out, and I can allocate that time and then add it to any other crew members and go ahead and say 2 hours on this cost code, 3 on that, and the rest of the time on this one. Boom, I'm done, and off they go. And then you have that in the office that same day, so you can make those critical decisions while they're still relevant. So I'll just quickly walk through these other options here. In the location manager, they can set the job on the device, see job site information. Very powerful screen here. They can see the budget information that gives them that feedback every time they sync, so they actually know how they're performing and how their crews are doing. So we can see the budgeted hours, what's accrued, what's remaining, percentage of completion. If we're doing units for cubic yards, linear feet, whatever it might be, we can see those. And as they're reported, it accrues there, shows us what's remaining, our percentage of completion. And then a summary even of what we're doing, per hour, what's our percentage of completion. So just a lot of powerful information that's at their fingertips so they can make those heavy-duty decisions. You can also do job site photos, automatically date and timestamps them, applies it to that particular project. So then it also feeds into different reports like our daily log report here that I'll pull up real quick. 1 second, it looks like Adobe's having a little bit of a problem here. There we go. So I can see, this location daily log run for 1 day against this job. I can see all the employees, the different cost codes they worked on, their regular time, if they push into OT or double time. As I mentioned, we pull and store and track the weather. So as many times as you want throughout the day, we can see the weather. In case someone comes back and says, hey, that foundation cracked, you poured under, it was too humid or whatever it might be, you can go back and see the weather all throughout the day and, again, help minimize your risk. See any field notes that came in, any job site photos. If you're tracking asset usage, that as well. So, again, reports can be scheduled to run automatically. We can also check out, assign assets, equipment, inventory everything in an ACK box and check it out to a foreman, or inventory everything in a service truck and check that out to them, whoever that technician is. We can also report, if you wish, on asset usage, meter readings, cost code they worked on for the employee, all sorts of different things like that. You can also see emergency contact information for employees. Can see, we can also report on per diem if you wish. Excuse me there, my iPad disconnected for a sec. And then in the records manager, we can, as I mentioned, allocate time after the fact, have employees and foremen review and approve the records as an option, see who's on the clock, and based on the privileges you give the foreman, allow them to add cost codes or to the record, that is. Cost codes come out of ComputerEase, of course. They can't just add them on the fly, but they can, apply it to an employee's time, or they can add equipment time or report on production units. Maybe you're doing piece rate pay, so you want to report on how many units were installed, that kind of thing. And then field notes basically is just a kind of a blank piece of paper that's in a digital format. It can be recorded with the voice or typed in. It does create an email alert when it hits the office. Also, lands in different reports, as well as part of our alert system. So we see customers use it for PTO requests because you can auto route that to go to the payroll administrator or an HR individual, whoever it might be. Forms we're going to talk about in just a moment. We already talked about employee groups. So from a pretty high level, that's basically the mobile app. There's also the option in the Windows environment to do PIN code entry, like you just saw on the iPad there. Can do biometrics and can also do card swipe. or magnetic, or barcode, have a barcode read. We also have RFID possibilities if you want to go with an RFID chip. A lot of different options to verify employees, but this works in the Windows environment. You just saw it on the mobile devices, so this will work on desktops, netbooks, notebooks, laptops, tablets, toughbooks, whatever it might be that you want to use to go ahead and verify that fingerprint or whatever it might be in the Windows environment. Works great in the field. I mean, we have drywall contractors using it, heavy highway, roofing contractors, people who have, fingers that are quite damaged and years of abuse. But it works great because it's not actually reading a fingerprint. It's reading inside the finger to the second layer of epidermis. It's reading the vein structure, the peaks and valleys in the finger. So you can have a worker that has a really tough to read fingerprint because there's actually no fingerprint on file. It's a three-dimensional capacitive reading that's reading inside of the finger. So that's how we've gotten it to work so well in the field. FBI uses it. Department of Homeland Security uses the same technology. Citibank does. So, and then also thousands and thousands of employees clocking in every day and clocking out at the end of the day with AboutTime using this technology. And also the devices are pretty darn rugged. So it's the one and only way to ensure that that employee is who they say they are, unless you got a foreman who's carrying around a bucket of fingers, and that can only work 9 times for each employee before they have one more digit left, and then you got a much bigger problem than buddy punching on your hand. But this is a great way to verify that it's definitely the right employee. Now, I mentioned that we have a forms feature. Our customers, we're a very customer-driven company, and the natural progression was, okay, you've eliminated the paper for time and spreadsheets. Well, now we have these forms. We have daily logs. We have change order forms. We have inspection lists. We have vehicle inspection lists. We have safety forms. We have accident reports. We have all this paper that are in banker boxes. They're in filing cabinets. We can't even read them because the foreman has chicken scratch kind of writing. So how can you help us? So Forms Express was what we came up with. Won the most innovative product award at World of Concrete, which we've been blessed enough to win. I believe it's 4 out of the last 5 years for different aspects of our products and system. But it's very, very simple to use, and will scale onto any size device because they're not actually filling out a form. What they're doing is actually answering questions. Like the first question would be, what's the day of the week? This is your daily log. What's the date? So they're writing these things in. What were the equipment, small tools you use, and how many? What were the materials you used? What was the quantity? Was it from off the truck, or did you have to go buy it? What did you charge the customer? Some notes, some safety questions. So I just rebuilt that in my demo database, synced it over to my iPhone, and filled it out. And this is the report that comes out. You can actually read, but I kept it simple. So the first question was, what's the day of the week? So I just gave them a drop-down list. They tap on that question, and they just choose the applicable day. Date will automatically just populate. So I just went through and mimicked their form. Safety problems, yes or no. Were there any notes? They can record those with their voice, or they can type them in. So the different types of answers you can require them to give would be a multiple choice, a yes or no, an open text box. Do we require them to record this with their voice? It could be a picture, a video. We can even do customer signatures, employee signatures, GPS coordinates of where the heck the form was filled out. I mean, the possibilities are just massive. And then we can also export this data out of our system to other systems. That form from the device in the field can be emailed or printed out, or of course gets synced back to the office where it's attached to that person, that job, if there was a task associated with it, and also an asset. So when you go into the control center, our back-end software in the office that's linked to ComputerEase, you can go in and look, even after your job's closed out. So you do have a dispute from a customer. Well, now you have in one place all of your forms, the historical weather, the labor, everyone that worked on that job, all the reporting that's built in behind it with over 30 different reports that we have in our system. And you've got everything in one place at your fingertips. So, a lot of power there. I just wanted to mention also before we wrap it up here is we do have a web clock as well that will allow for people in the office to also report their time. It could be in real time where they're clocking in and out. They just tap on the link, put in their password. It can be in and out. It can also be an after-the-fact timesheet, which we also offer on the mobile devices. We didn't get into that, but Again, we don't have a lot of time. We're about to wrap up here. But then also approvals in that web interface where employees and managers can go in and approve their time. And we even grab the GPS coordinates of where they are when they do report their time from a computer using location services within that computer. I wanted to mention also that we're device agnostic. We still have customers using the BlackBerry, but it is something that we recently phased out. Don't know many people that use it. I hope I didn't offend anyone there. But we work on most all Android devices, most all iOS products, and also the Windows environment. So it's completely up to you. You choose what you want, and we don't dictate what you're able to use the system on. Basically, you can also use any cell provider as well, and mix and match those. Last thing I wanted to show is our control center here, the backend software, and I'm just going to stay on this for just a moment before we turn it over for any questions. You can see there's different dashboards. I can see all my budgets for how I'm doing on my jobs. I can then drill down and see what cost code is pushing us over, or what units are pushing us over. I can see all the weather from my job sites, and you can see it'll turn into red when it dips below or goes above the threshold I've set to alert me of wind speed. Maybe we've got a crane up and OSHA requirements say it has to come down at so many miles per hour. Well, I want to be alerted when that happens. You can also see the top jobs, top 20 jobs by man hours, who has synced their device out in the field and who hasn't. Come time to cut payroll, all these lights better be green so we can get everyone paid. Also the different field notes that have come in. I can also see my different managers over here where I can review, edit, and approve time based on my privileges. I can see employee information, job site information, so I can go in even after a job is closed down, like I mentioned before. If I'm going to the City of Clarksville job, I can see how my units are doing and labor's doing. I can see any forms that came in from that job, and I can see any job site photos that have come in. I can see the historical weather, all these things right at your fingertips. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and see Shannon Corrigan, our Director of Marketing, is on the line also. She's muted right now, but I wanted to see turn it over to any questions that there might be out there, or of course we can do any sort of follow-up that we need to do as well. So at this point, Shannon, let me know if have any questions come in up to this point. Okay, doesn't sound like it. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and just want to thank everyone that joined. Appreciate your time. Let us know how we can be helpful. That's what we do. That's what we're here for. And again, this is a very powerful, capable system that is definitely integrated and endorsed by ComputerEase, and helps to feed accurate data quickly to the powerful system ComputerEase to get you that job cost that you need and those answers that you need, and let you know how profitable you are. That's what we do. And you can't manage what you don't measure, so that's what we do. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Let everybody go. I thank you for your time. Have a great day. And again, let us know how we can be helpful. Thanks so much.